Hello, everyone. I'm Charlie, and welcome back to the Premier League DraftKings DFS Slate Breakdown. Before we start, first I just want to say, really feel for the UK DraftKings DFS player base with the recent news that the UK is no longer having daily fantasy sports, and really feel for everybody who's involved in that. I imagine in for the people who play DFS soccer, probably a larger ratio of people playing that compared to any of the other sports. But I'm really curious to see how it affects DraftKings contests, and I'm sad to see a lot of people unable to play now. Hopefully, it's not like a permanent thing though, and I'd love to see it come back at some point. But for now, for those of us who can still play, got a slate breakdown to get to. So in terms of the slate itself, it is a Man City and Arsenal slate, minus 700 and minus 400, the two clear biggest favorites on the slate, with only West Ham as the other minus favorite slate, and then both Newcastle Everton games and Leicester Bournemouth, as well as Brentford Wolves, all plus odds both ways. In terms of projected lineups and set pieces for West Ham, it should be Jared Bowen in this team. I think the only one who has for sure priority over him is Aaron Cresswell, who just has not played all season, but just someone to keep an eye out for, just on the rare chance he ends up starting. Paqueta also took a little bit one game. I think just a one-off, though. Bowen has kind of gone back to being the monopoly guy, other than that one weird Paqueta game where he took. For Ipswich, it should be Leif Davis and either I think Calvin Phillips having a small share. If he gets subbed, I think Jack Clark would be the next right-footed option up, but Leif Davis is kind of the main set piece taker. For Arsenal and Southampton, should be Rice and Saka split. I kind of got that down to a science now. And for Southampton, in this team, it should be Sugawara and Dibbling. If Cornet is in, he's the one who splits with Sugawara. Brentford Wolves, it should be Carvalho and Mbuemo splitting. And for Wolves, should be Cunha Monopoly. Nori maybe taking a couple of like free kicks too, but mostly Cunha. Leicester Bournemouth, Winks, and either Christensen or Buonanotte. I think they scored off of a Buonanotte set piece against Arsenal, but it wasn't a corner, and Christensen's been the corner guy lately, splitting with Winks. But the fact that they were so effective off of Buonanotte set, I could see them kind of switching to just a split between Winks and him. But who knows, frankly. They don't get a ton of sets to really even kind of figure it out either. For Bournemouth, it should be Cook and Tavernier. Then finally, Man City Fulham. In this lineup, it should be Gundogan and Foden splitting, I want to say. There's a chance that Gundogan splits with Bernardo. There's a chance that Grealish ends up as the right-footed option over Gundo. Over the UCL game that City played, it was Gundogan and Savinho splitting. Savinho's not in projected now. And even if he was, I'm not 100% sure they keep the same thing just because of how City play. They tend to switch up their set pieces quite a bit. But I think most likely scenario, if it's this team, is Gundogan and Foden. And for Fulham, it is an Andreas Pereira monopoly. Prices, Erling Haaland, big dog. No one is going to be shocked by him being the most expensive at 11K. That's expensive. Like, you're going to need 2 goals, and he's been providing that a lot of the time. This is always big decision. I say that every time Haaland is on a slate, no matter what. Bukayo Saka, 10-8. He's the safer cash option. Could see going both, but Saka's kind of the guy I'd prioritize in cash games at least. After that, I think the next kind of guy I'm interested in is Jared Bowen. Martinelli, I would liked him a lot when he was like 2K cheaper last week. At 8,900, I think it's more GPP. But Bowen, 8,700, Monopoly set taker likely. Pretty good matchup against Ipswich. I like that a lot. Like, I think the 3 forwards you kind of got to decide between are Bowen, Saka, and Haaland. And if you're playing Saka, just kind of really go down to picking Bowen or Haaland. And it's just a floor versus ceiling debate, frankly. Now, Savinho, if he's in, I'd be a little bit tempted. I think I'd go Bowen over him just because of the guaranteed minutes. With Savinho, you just never know how much he's going to play. Like, he sometimes can go 90, other times he's like 75. He's such a good player, though. I could see myself going him over Bowen. I it's just a tough one. Hopefully he just doesn't play. It makes life a lot easier. Now Cunha 7,100. I love Cunha. I think he's a super solid player. Just here, I feel like Bowen's gonna be more popular, better matchup. Cunha's just been super solid, but just with the amount of forward options, it's hard to get there in cash. I also have a pretty large share in GPP though. There's a lot of set piece taking forwards. It makes me not really love a lot of the rest of the guys. Everyone else is kind of just GPPE. Like a Jack Clark. If there's no Calvin Phillips, I like that a lot in GPP. Mavididi, I don't mind too. 5,200 super cheap. He's been pretty decent recently. Like he's put up some pretty nice numbers. Game five against Arsenal is no easy feat either, considering like the stats in that game. Arsenal dominated. Liam Delap, I think, is not a bad GPP play. I played him on the Sunday slate. Was not expecting 2 goals, but as a pleasant surprise. I think he's an all right GPP option. And then not a ton of other stuff. I'm really looking at it. Cornet, I know he has sets, but Arsenal's just such a tough matchup, so I'm not really considering him too much. But set piece, a lot of set piece taking forward, so kind of putting my focus there. Midfielders. Phil Foden, most expensive. He's a great option. Got there against that Bertislav or whoever the hell they were playing. Fulham's a lot tougher matchup. He had a ton of floor in just 24 minutes against Newcastle. I know they had the perfect flow, but still, you like to see that. 10,600 is just a premium price. If he has set pieces, like I'm probably going to get there. But if Savino's in, I think I'm fading for sure. I might fade even if he does have set pieces, just because it's so expensive. And like if you're playing Saka or like a Holland or Bowen already, it's just not a ton of salary. Potentially I go Foden, but I'm not 100% committed to that yet. And Bueno 9,500. For me, that just feels like a little expensive. I like him a lot more when he's 7,800. They keep getting these goals like 20 seconds in. He had a great game last game. But 9,500 is just super expensive. I think he's in play, just not a lock or anything. Tavernier, I'd rather get up to an Embuemo over him. Leicester's not a bad matchup, but he's not been great in terms of goal contributions. And I just feel like a 10-pointer here would just not really enough considering the slate. Wheeler 7,400. I don't think that's bad. Once again, like a little bit more much compared to last week when it was like 5,500 or something. 7,400 is a little much for me, but I don't mind it. Declan Rice. Now, because of the nature of how expensive the rest of these midfielders are, I think Declan Rice is super in play. He's got best matchup. People will look at these really poor games against Man City and Brighton, see negative points and freak out about that. But he's playing Southampton at home. This is super similar to like the Wolves game or Leicester game. It's at home again. And I just could see him having another monster game. I don't think he's gonna have a floor as good as Leicester, but he's still hasn't even got a goal contribution this season. And I think he could definitely do that. He's playing the eight still. Like Partey's played almost every game because of that. Rice has been continuing to push up, and he hasn't gotten a goal contribution. But I don't think that's like I don't think he's playing any differently than last season. It's just results haven't gone his way to just get a goal contribution despite being up the field. And I could see him doing that against Southampton, though. Like I like Declan Rice a lot here, so he's very much in play for me. Kudus, I think it's a great GP play for cash. Just not really interested in Carvalho. I think that's a tempting even cash play. Splitting set pieces, pretty good matchup against Wolves, like bottom of the league, I think. So I don't mind a Carvalho play. It's him or Rice probably for me for uh mid slot and cash. I don't know if I'll get to both of them. Just depends if I go Foden or not. But they're both interesting. Now Gundogan, actually. This is going to be my first choice mid. He's so cheap for a set piece taking Man City piece. I know he went 60 minutes against Newcastle, but that's because they were saving him for Champions League where he just went 90. I'd be a little so I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start, frankly. Make Foden an auto lock probably. But if he's in, Like with international break coming, I think they'll probably let him play as much as he can. And he just scored a goal too in that last UCL game. So if he's in, I'm probably coring Ilkay Gundogan, especially in cash. Like I'd probably just lock him in. After that, there's not a ton of nice cheap mids. Paqueta is not bad, but probably more GPP. Buonanotte, I don't mind. And then I'm just not seeing a ton. Dibbling, just tough matchup. Harry Winks, I think, is all right, I guess. Like he's not been great, but he was pretty okay against Everton. He did bad against Arsenal, but like I don't really expect him to do much better. Bournemouth is a lot easier matchup than that. So Winks, I don't mind at 3,500. Like I think that's an all right play for sure. If Nwaneri somehow starts, like that'd be a great play. He was super effective in that EFL Cup game against Bolton. Yeah, I think it was Bolton. He's a super talented youngster. Like he'd be a lock too if he starts just because he's that cheap, like, with that matchup. Now defenders. Leaf Davis is like the only clear set piece taking. Oh, Sugawara too, but Leaf Davis is the clear top defender, and he's priced like that too. I'll probably just end up playing just because I know how solid he is as a player. Like, how do you do against Aston Villa, which is a tough matchup too. Like West Ham away, I'd say is a lot easier of a matchup than Aston Villa at home. And he had 18 points. He's gotten to like every game this season since the Man City and Liverpool games where you don't expect a ton. Even against Brighton, he got there. So Leaf Davis, I'm locking him in despite that tough price. I'll just try to find value elsewhere to accommodate him, like at one of the midfield slots or other D slots because, like I said, there's just not a ton of defenders I'm really interested in. Like most of these Arsenal guys have been priced up a ton. Like the only one who I'd really consider is a Timber at 4,200 if he's at fullback. Everyone else just feels so expensive. Like I maybe get to a Saliba and GPP. Mergalice feels like a lot to me. Ben White is a lot for sure. QER is a lot for sure. And then the Man City guys are a lot too. Like Gavario 5,400, that's expensive. Projected had who? He was in back three anyway. Rico Lewis, maybe he's who you go to. I could see that. 5,300 though, like once again, that's a lot. This makes League favorites, I think, that much more appealing. And then I'm thinking about maybe punting if I was to do my kind of my dummy cash build. I'd probably go like a Foss or something. Ayer if he's at left back. Todibo, I think is solid with that matchup. But yeah, it's Leaf Davis and then whatever fits around, I feel like. Keeper, as always, crapshoot. Punt, don't punt. It all could work, it all could fail. That's just goalkeepers for you. Core, Leaf Davis. Saka, and then I'm going Gundogan. I like all these guys. Only 5K left per position, but there's options you can go there for sure. You can make this work. Just decide between Holland and Bowen. Even Cunha, you can maybe make an argument for. Then second mid slot, maybe a punt or try to cram a Carvalho in. Definitely a lot of ways to go here. But yeah, guys, that'll be it. Good luck. And I'll see you after international break.